Megyn Kelly just warned, "I must reveal this before it's too late." Kamala Harris is having a tough time in her campaign. Her talks and a recent interview showed she struggles to answer questions clearly, often sounding unsure and not deep enough. Kelly points out Harris's public manner is inconsistent. Sometimes she laughs when it's not fitting, and other times she seems too quiet and distant. This makes it hard for voters to connect with her. Tune in to see how these challenges could impact Harris's political future. Kamala Harris's public struggles. Her public speaking and media interviews have repeatedly come under fire, raising concerns about her ability to connect with voters on a personal and policy-driven level. One particularly detailed breakdown of Harris's recent missteps comes from commentator Megyn Kelly, who took a critical look at Harris's interview on CNN. In the interview, Harris faced questions on important issues, but as Kelly notes, she struggled to provide the kind of clear, concise answers that would demonstrate her grasp on these matters. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into what these struggles could mean for Harris's future in a high-stakes political arena. Kelly highlighted how, throughout the interview, Harris's overall demeanor was lackluster, her tone hesitant, and her responses noticeably lacking in substance. Rather than engaging deeply with the questions posed, Harris often defaulted to generic, overly simplistic statements that fell short of addressing the more nuanced and complex nature of the issues at hand. Kelly critiques Harris's inability to delve deeply into complex topics, suggesting she often seems unprepared for the demands of her role. This perception is detrimental not only to her own reputation, but also reflects poorly on the administration, suggesting a broader lack of depth and readiness. Kelly further explores Harris's public persona, which fluctuates markedly. She occasionally seems too informal during serious discussions, marked by inappropriate laughter, which undermines the gravity of her role. This erratic behavior, including episodes where she appears overly subdued or disconnected, has been a consistent critique throughout her career. This nervous laughter, a behavior that has become something of a hallmark of her public persona, has been widely criticized as making her appear unserious or out of touch with the gravity of the situations she is addressing. In instances where voters expect a steady, composed response to critical questions, this behavior can be jarring, creating a disconnect between the message she is trying to convey and the way it is perceived by the public. In contrast, there are moments when Harris's demeanor is overly reserved, leading to perceptions that she is disconnected or disinterested. Kelly wittily compares these shifts to oscillating between the extremes of seeming tipsy and appearing as if she is recovering from a hangover. This inconsistency, while at times humorous, does little to solidify her public image or inspire confidence among voters. This humorous observation, while lighthearted in tone, underscores a more serious point. Neither extreme of Harris's presentation does much to strengthen her standing with the electorate. When she appears overly casual, she risks being seen as unprofessional or dismissive. When she seems detached, she can come across as uninterested or lacking the passion that voters expect from someone in her position. Kelly's analysis suggests that this inconsistency in Harris's demeanor is doing little to enhance her public appeal. In fact, it may be working against her, particularly with voters who are looking for stability, confidence, and a clear sense of leadership in a candidate. Political campaigns, especially at the national level, require a delicate balance of authenticity, preparedness, and relatability. Any missteps in these areas can have long-lasting effects on a candidate's ability to resonate with the electorate. For Harris, the stakes are high. As vice president, she is seen by many as a potential future leader of the Democratic Party, and her ability to connect with voters now could have a significant impact on her political future. The inconsistency in Harris's public demeanor becomes even more concerning when placed in contrast with other political figures who thrive in unscripted environments. One such figure is former President Donald Trump, whose ability to captivate and engage audiences in spontaneous settings has been widely acknowledged, even by his critics. As Kelly points out, Trump frequently makes unscheduled stops at everyday locations like convenience stores and local diners, where his natural charisma tends to shine. In these informal settings, Trump's warm and personable approach allows him to connect with people on a personal level, a skill that has served him well throughout his political career. Even those who may not agree with Trump's policies often acknowledge his ability to charm and win over individuals in these face-to-face encounters. Harris seems to struggle with this kind of natural, off-the-cuff charm. Kelly suggests that Harris's team may intentionally keep her in more controlled environments, where she can stick to a prepared script and avoid the unpredictability of unscripted interactions. This strategy likely stems from a desire to prevent any awkward moments or gaffes, such as Harris's tendency for nervous laughter when caught off guard. However, the downside of this approach is that it prevents Harris from showing a more authentic, relatable side, something that voters value in candidates who are vying for their trust and support. In a world where authenticity is increasingly important to voters, Harris's reliance on scripted interactions may be doing more harm than good. Moreover, Kelly points out that Harris faces an additional challenge in trying to distance herself from some of the policies of the Biden administration, despite having publicly supported them in the past. This is a difficult balancing act, particularly when it comes to economic policies like raising taxes on those earning over $400,000, a move that could have significant consequences for small business owners. Kelly argues that Harris's attempt to separate herself from these decisions, especially those she has already endorsed, could backfire. Both the public and the media are likely to scrutinize any perceived flip-flopping on key issues, and Harris may find it difficult to explain these shifts in a way that feels genuine and consistent. As Kelly notes, Trump faces his own challenges, particularly when it comes to maintaining consistency in his messaging. However, Kelly suggests that Trump's ability to connect with voters on an emotional level may give him an edge in this area. While Harris's strategy appears to be more focused on maintaining control and avoiding mistakes, Trump's approach is centered around capturing the public's attention and keeping his base engaged. This contrast in styles highlights the different ways in which each politician seeks to navigate the complex landscape of modern politics. Navigating public perceptions. Kelly's critique of Harris reflects a broader concern about the vice president's ability to effectively communicate with the electorate. As the campaign season continues, Harris will need to find a way to bridge the gap between the overly casual and the detached, presenting herself as a steady, reliable leader who can connect with voters on a deeper level. If she is unable to do so, the scrutiny she faces is likely to intensify, making it even harder for her to gain the trust and support of a skeptical electorate. In contrast to Kamala Harris, Donald Trump has consistently demonstrated a natural ability to captivate audiences, particularly in unscripted, spontaneous settings. This quality is something Megyn Kelly identifies as one of Trump's key advantages. Trump's interactions in everyday environments, such as making unplanned stops at local convenience stores, diners, or small businesses, have become a hallmark of his political style. It is in these informal, off-the-cuff settings where his charisma truly shines, allowing him to form immediate connections with the people he encounters. What is striking about Trump's approach is how comfortable he appears in these situations, even when surrounded by individuals who may not fully agree with his political stances. Kelly observes that even among those who don't necessarily align with Trump's views, there is often an acknowledgement of his ability to relate to and engage with people on a personal level. This quality is not easily dismissed. Trump's warm, personable approach in these encounters enables him to win over individuals effortlessly, making him an engaging and likable figure in face-to-face interactions. His manner, often described as disarmingly casual and authentic, plays well with a broad range of voters who appreciate seeing a leader who can step outside the traditional political sphere and speak directly to them. Whether it's shaking hands with a local business owner, chatting with a cashier at a diner, or even taking a moment to pose for pictures with supporters. Trump excels in these unscripted moments, making people feel seen and heard. His ability to interact naturally without the need for a pre-scripted agenda allows him to project confidence and relatability, traits that resonate well with many voters. This talent for connecting in spontaneous settings is something Kelly sees as a distinct advantage for Trump, particularly when compared to politicians who struggle with unscripted exchanges or who feel more at ease behind a podium or teleprompter. On the other hand, Kamala Harris struggles to replicate this kind of natural charm and ease in public interactions. As Kelly points out, Harris's team appears to intentionally keep her in more controlled and structured environments where she can follow a prepared script and avoid the unpredictability of unscripted moments. This carefully curated approach seems designed to shield her from potential gaffes or awkward exchanges, which have become a recurring issue for her during public appearances. One notable example of this is Harris's tendency to laugh nervously or awkwardly when caught off guard, a habit that has drawn considerable criticism and often undercuts the seriousness of her responses. Harris's reliance on scripted interactions and controlled environments, while perhaps intended to minimize the risk of embarrassing moments, also carries its own set of drawbacks. By staying within the confines of a scripted approach, Harris misses the opportunity to show a more authentic and relatable side of herself to voters. The warmth and spontaneity that Trump demonstrates so effortlessly are qualities that Harris has struggled to project, and this controlled style of public engagement prevents her from making those deeper, more personal connections that can be so important in winning over undecided voters. This strategy of avoiding unscripted moments also limits Harris's ability to demonstrate quick thinking and adaptability, two traits that are highly valued in political leaders. While scripted events may ensure that Harris stays on message, they also give the impression that she is overly reliant on talking points and unable to think on her feet. This lack of spontaneity can make her appear less approachable or genuine to voters who are looking for a leader they feel they can relate to on a personal level. Harris's preference for controlled settings contrasts with Trump's ease in spontaneous interactions, potentially alienating voters who value authenticity. By avoiding unscripted moments to prevent gaffes, her team might also limit her relatability. In contrast, Trump's embrace of these interactions enhances his image as a candid and engaging figure, resonating with voters who appreciate a more genuine approach. Harris's reliance on scripted environments may lead some voters to question her ability to engage meaningfully with them outside of carefully managed situations. This could be particularly damaging in a political landscape where voters expect transparency and honesty from their leaders. While controlled environments might help Harris avoid pitfalls, they also prevent her from showing the kind of spontaneous charm and relatability that could help her connect with a wider audience. Kelly's critique highlights a key difference in how Trump and Harris navigate public engagement. Trump's natural ease in spontaneous settings gives him a distinct advantage when it comes to forming personal connections with voters. His ability to interact casually and authentically resonates with many people who appreciate a leader that can step away from the script and engage with them directly. Harris, on the other hand, faces the challenge of breaking free from the constraints of scripted environments and demonstrating the kind of warmth and relatability that could strengthen her appeal to voters. While her strategy may minimize the risk of gaffes, it also limits her ability to fully connect with the electorate in the way that Trump so effortlessly does. Megyn Kelly further delves into Kamala Harris's delicate attempt to distance herself from certain policies of the Biden administration, despite having previously supported many of them. This situation places Harris in a challenging position, as she must balance her past endorsements with her current political messaging, a feat that is often difficult to execute smoothly. One of the most glaring examples Kelly highlights is Harris's support for economic policies such as raising taxes on individuals earning over $400,000. While these tax increases are designed to target higher-income individuals, they have serious implications for small business owners, many of whom may fall into this income bracket. By backing these policies, Harris has aligned closely with the administration's economic agenda, making any distancing now seem inconsistent or opportunistic. Harris's political tightrope, Kelly, notes that this balancing act is particularly difficult for Harris because it forces her to navigate a political minefield. On the one hand, she must remain aligned with the administration, given her role as vice president and her previous public support for key initiatives. On the other hand, distancing herself from certain policies, especially those that may be unpopular with certain segments of the electorate, might be seen as a calculated attempt to soften her image. However, this approach comes with risks. Any noticeable shift in her stance could backfire, leading both the media and the public to scrutinize her motivations and question the sincerity of her positions. Voters often value consistency, and attempts to redefine one's stance on major issues, particularly those that were previously endorsed, can lead to accusations of flip-flopping or political expediency. Kelly argues that these potential pitfalls could be especially damaging for Harris, as she has already faced challenges in building a clear and consistent public image. If she is seen as wavering on significant issues such as tax policy, her credibility could be further eroded. The media is likely to seize on any perceived inconsistencies, amplifying the scrutiny she faces as she attempts to recalibrate her political messaging. Furthermore, the public is often less forgiving of candidates who appear to shift their positions based on political convenience, particularly in a political climate that increasingly demands transparency and authenticity from its leaders. Kelly highlights that Donald Trump's consistent and clear messaging has been a significant advantage, helping him stand firm on issues important to his base, while Kamala Harris struggles with changing her stance on past policies. Trump's approach emphasizes his commitment to his principles, contrasting sharply with Harris's efforts, which may face intense scrutiny. This scrutiny could complicate Harris's attempts to shift her public image and policy positions, making it challenging for her to convincingly redefine her role without skepticism from both the media and voters. Adding to this complex political dynamic is Donald Trump's recent shift back to a firm pro-life stance, a move that signals a potential reaction to troubling internal poll results, particularly in key battleground states like Florida. Kelly speculates that this sudden pivot could be indicative of strategic desperation within the Trump campaign, reflecting the pressures they may be feeling as they work to respond to changing voter preferences. Earlier in the campaign, Trump had adopted a more flexible stance on abortion, which some believed was influenced by his advisors in an effort to appeal to a broader segment of voters. This flexibility seemed designed to navigate the complexities of a deeply divided electorate, especially in light of the ongoing debates surrounding reproductive rights. However, Kelly points out that this flexible approach now appears to have been abruptly abandoned, with Trump's campaign recalibrating its messaging to solidify support among his base. The pro-life stance has long been a cornerstone of conservative politics, and by returning to this position, Trump may be seeking to reaffirm his commitment to a key issue that resonates deeply with his core supporters. This shift is likely designed to shore up his standing with conservative voters in critical states where the abortion debate is a central concern. Kelly speculates that Trump's recent pivot may be driven by internal polling that suggests his previous flexibility on the issue was not sitting well with certain segments of his base. This strategic shift, while potentially necessary to maintain support within his base, also carries risks for Trump. By taking a firmer pro-life position, he may alienate more moderate or independent voters who were drawn to his earlier, more flexible stance. The abortion issue is one of the most polarizing topics in American politics, and any shift in position on such a deeply personal and emotional subject is likely to draw intense scrutiny from both sides of the debate. Trump's ability to navigate this issue in a way that maintains his appeal to conservative voters while not alienating crucial swing voters will be critical as the campaign moves forward. Kelly's analysis of Trump's pivot highlights the ongoing tension between political strategy and voter expectations. In today's polarized political environment, candidates must walk a fine line between maintaining the support of their base and appealing to the broader electorate. For Trump, this means finding a balance between the hardline positions that energize his core supporters and the more nuanced stances that could attract undecided voters. Similarly, for Harris, the challenge lies in navigating her past policy endorsements while attempting to position herself as a leader with a clear and consistent vision. As the debates approach and the election season reaches its peak, all eyes will be on the candidates, with the hope that the real important conversations will eventually take center stage. For more fiery insights and political revelations, hit like and subscribe. What do you think? Can Harris overcome these public speaking hurdles to connect with voters, or is the damage too deep?